For today's tutorial, I am going to show you how I make these fantastically sweet little bat amigurumis. Their wings are lacy, and it gives almost a hood appearance that you can of course flip down if you want, or flip up if you want. After all, they are a vampire bat. Welcome to Weaving Weird Studio. My name is Sig, and this is where you and I create a little magic with every knot. It's your interest and support that allows me to contribute new content and weekly videos. Help us all grow together by tapping that subscribe bar, notification bell, and like button. I look forward to your comments and always value your feedback. Now enjoy the tutorial. Scientists have identified over 5,400 species of mammals, and over 1,400 of these species are bats. In other words, roughly a quarter of the Earth's entire mammal population is made up of bats. And of the 1,400 types of bats that we are aware of, only 3 of these species are true vampires. Fruit bats in the Amazon forest are considered by far some of the most important mammals with regards to the regeneration of areas decimated by overlogging and forest fires. They do this by fertilizing the soil and distributing seeds that promote the first vital plants required for regrowth. This new vegetation will eventually attract the monkeys and birds needed to disperse other seeds that will continue to aid in the return of a new and vibrant forest. Bats are also very important pollinators. Most plants that rely solely on bats for their pollination needs bloom only at night. Many of these plants, including various cacti of the southwest region of the U.S., wild bananas and durian fruit of Thailand, and East African's baobab tree, which is also commonly referred to as the tree of life because of its over 300 life-sustaining uses that help to conserve humans as well as a fantastic variety of animals in an otherwise very harsh environment. Bats can and often are preyed upon by predators such as large raptors and snakes. However, their largest and most prolific predator is man. Through ignorance, fear, and appetite, many species have been hunted into extinction. Even though some ancient cultures viewed bats as the bringer of good fortune and a fertile future, many other ancient cultures viewed these nocturnal creatures as belonging to an aspect of the underworld, and thereby the perfect vehicles for guardian gods of the underworld, evil spirits bringing disease, and mischievous shapeshifters who were responsible for cursing hapless humans. In Eastern European countries, the term vampire and werewolf were frequently used interchangeably. The vampire was viewed as a restless and predatory spirit of a living person, demon, or ghost looking to feed off the energetic life force of another living being. While the werewolf, or were fill in the blank basically, what we're talking about is a shapeshifter here, was the same kind of demon, ghost, or living person that fed off the life-giving physical blood of a living being. As Eastern Europe was beginning to move away from decades of vampire hysteria, a French zoologist named Etienne Geoffroy St. Hilaire in 1810 decided to name a species of tiny Central and South American bats the vampire bat because they lived exclusively on the warm blood of birds and mammals, after which, in 1839, Charles Darwin solidified this name by documenting it in the first drafts that outlined his original thoughts and theories about evolution and natural selection. During the late 1800s, Darwin was not only very popular, but his works were also extremely controversial, so it's easy to imagine how he could have, for better or for worse, helped grease the wheels of the imagination of one of his own contemporaries, an Irish Gothic horror writer by the name of Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker was well educated and worked in the theater industry for years. It was said that the English coastal town of Whitby was the well from where he drew his greatest inspiration. Whitby had a maritime economy that dated back to the Middle Ages. Stoker loved that this seaside town was not only rich in trade, but that it was also rich in stories, news, gossip, and superstition from around the world. At the time of the release of his novel, Dracula, In 1897, the North American New England states were also experiencing their own decades-long vampire hysteria, and so it's no wonder the bat and its part in modern-day vampire mythology is so entangled. Bats are often the only pollinators for night-blooming vegetation. They disperse seeds that contribute important vegetation in the early cycles of new forest growth. Their guano can be crucial for the fertilization of depleted soil. They are prolific in their ability to control insect population, and yes, sometimes they can carry disease. They are the stuff of our most frightening nightmares, and they are also the unsung heroes that contribute a great deal to our planet's prosperity and good health. Now, this little brown guy is made using Aunt Lydia's classic size 10 thread, and this is a color fudge brown, and I have paired this up with this wool, alpaca, and silk blend yarn called Cafe Royale. Now, the yarn itself is a size 3. It's a little heavier than a fingering, maybe somewhere around a DK. And then, of course, the crochet thread is 100% cotton. Now, the important thing to remember is that you're going to want to use the appropriate size hook. So, for example, I used a size 3 hook for the actual wool blend yarn, the heavier yarn, and then the number 2 for the crochet thread. Now, all the bats I show you today are made with the same exact pattern. I'm just going to go over kind of why they look a little different. Well, size, of course, because I'm using different sized yarns and different weight yarns. Also, their texture, because I'm using different yarns, right? I've got some natural yarns here, which is this wool, silk, alpaca blend mixed with this 100% cotton, mercerized cotton. And then the next one I have is the black bat. Now, this bat is made using a fingering weight trill. And you can see it's 100% merino super washed wool. And so it's super soft. It's really kind of a very dark navy blue, so it's not quite black. And this is considered a size 1. So this is a lace weight yarn. Now, the body of my bat, I used this mohair. Well, it's a mohair acrylic blend. So this one is a 60% mohair and 40% acrylic. It's very black. I love the texture. This actually comes from a vintage yarn. This is yarn that I purchased in a lot from eBay. And so they call it chunky. I thought it felt more like a 4-weight, but at the time they considered this particular yarn chunky, so we'll just go with that. And so now this one, I used the size G hook and a size D hook. So the D was for the lace weight and the G was for the chunkier weight mohair. Now, last but not least, and the biggest one of all, is my albino bat. Same exact pattern, but this time I used the Caron Cakes Latte. It's from their Lovely Layers collection, and this one is the cream. It's really kind of a cool yarn. It's like their regular 4-weight cream yarn, and then it has like this eyelash yarn that's sort of doubled up with it to give this fabric this nice kind of loose fuzzy look that I typically feel that a lot of bats actually have. So I was happy to use this yarn. Now, this yarn is a weight 5, so this is considered a bulky yarn. And so it's not surprising that this particular bat is quite a bit bigger than the black bat, and even more so bigger than the brown bat. Also, since I decided to make this bat albino, I went with pink, of course. And so the pink I used was the True Blue. Now, this is a light 3 weight. And this happens to be a rayon. made from bamboo. So basically it's a semi-thin synthetic yarn. Whereas this Caron's Cake yarn is, what do they call it? They say it's 58% acrylic and 42% nylon. You can really see how the different yarns perform with the same pattern. And then, of course, for the albino one, I used my size G hook for the chunkier yarn and the size F hook for my Truboo yarn. Also, in addition to just the 2 yarns, you're going to want 2 yarns at the most that you're going to want in terms of making this bat. A heavier yarn and a lighter yarn, or, or thread, whichever the case may be. You're also going to want a few other things. You're going to want a little bit of glue. The glue is just going to act as a way to keep the ends from your piece of ribbon that you use to tie onto your bat, to keep those ends from fraying. That's all, just a dab of that. You're also going to want to think in terms of beads. Now, I got examples of the beads that I used in this project. It's I got this kind of opaque, dark purple, blackish kind of mirror bead. And that's an 8mm. And then I have this natural stone, I think it's dyed, pink bead that I used for the eye. That's a 10mm. And then this glass bead, this is just all black. This is also a 10mm. And these worked great for the eyes. So the 8mm clearly was for the smaller bat. Also, safety noses. They come in a variety, and it'll just be up to you to decide how you want to go about doing that for yourself. You're also going to want stuffing, something to stuff your bat with, as well as, a couple of different needles. You'll want a larger yarn needle and maybe a tapestry needle, something longish, so that you can do your sewing with. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is make the feet. Now for the feet, I'm going to use I am going to use a Tunisian stitch. It's just going to be super basic, just the most basic Tunisian stitch that there is. I'm going to start off and I'm going to make a chain of 3. And then I already have my 1 loop on my hook. And so then what I'm going to do is insert my hook into that next chain. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull that loop through, so now I have 2 loops on my hook. And then again, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to put it right there into that 3rd chain. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull that loop through, and so now I'm going to have 3 loops on my hook. Next, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull that through the 1st loop. Then I'm going to do a yarn over, I'm going to pull that through the next 2 loops. Yarn over again and pull that through the last 2 loops. So that gives me my 1st row. And I want a total of 6 rows. So I've already began my first stitch. It has my 1st loop on the hook already. I'm going to insert my hook into this bar right here, into this front bar. Yarn over, I'm going to pull that yarn through. And then again, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to insert it into that next bar, which is my next stitch. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull that through. Now I've got 3 loops on my hook, and to complete row 2, I'm going to yarn over and pull through that 1st loop. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn through the next 2 loops on my hook. And I'm going to yarn over again and pull that through the next 2 loops on my hook, and that's going to give me row 2. Now I want 3 more of these rows. So I'm going to insert my hook into that 2nd stitch, yarn over and pull it up. Then take my hook, insert it into that 3rd stitch, and I'm going to yarn over and pull that through. Yarn over and pull through the 1st loop. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. So now I have 3 rows. I'm going to do this 3 more times. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 rows. This is going to be one of my toes. Now I want to make a total of 6 of these, 3 toes for each foot. But what I'm going to do is I'm technically going to make 2 toes, which I've already got made right here. And when I made them, I left a long tail on them because I'm going to use that for sewing. And my third toe, I am not going to cut because I'm going to continue on to making the foot. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to yarn over, pull my loop through, and then yarn over and pull my loop through again, right? So it's like starting a 7th row, except I'm going to put them together. So I'm going to then pick up my second toe and I'm going to insert my hook through that first bar, and then I'm going to pull my yarn through and pull at my loop. And then I'm going to go to the second bar, again pull my yarn through and get my next loop. And then I'm going to go to that very last bar, and one more time I'm going to pull that loop through. So I should have 6 loops on my hook now and 2 toes. I got one more toe to do, and I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did before. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert my hook into that first bar. I'm going to yarn over and pull my loop through. I'm going to insert my hook into the second bar. I'm going to yarn over and pull my loop through. And then I'm going to insert my hook through that third bar, yarn over and pull my loop through. Next, I'm going to yarn over. Now that I have 9 loops on my hook, I'm going to yarn over. And I'm going to pull my hook through that first loop. Then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull my hook through that next 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull my loop through the next 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, next 2 loops. Yarn over, next 2 loops. On and on all the way through until I've finished each of those 9 stitches. And that gives me my first row for the foot. I'm going to continue just like that for a total of 5 rows. So I'm going to do 4 more rows to complete this part of my foot. So now your foot should look something like this. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thread one of my tails. And then I'm going to have the back of my piece facing me, and I'm going to fold the toe over. And next I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to sew up the length of my toe. So just like that. Then I'm going to sew up each other toe the same exact way. Now, once I've sewn my toes together, I'm then going to go and I'm going to fold both sides of the foot together. Just like so. I'm going to fold each side in on itself so that they meet in the middle. And you can see you kind of have all 3 toes scrunched together. It looks sort of like a chicken foot, but it won't when we're finished. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew these 2 sides together, just like we did with the toes. So now once I have the back of my foot sewn, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to slip it right down the middle of that center toe. I'm going to take my yarn and my needle and I'm going to stick it into the tip of one toe on one side. And I'm just going to swing it back around and bring it through that toe, bring it through the middle toe, and then bring it through my remaining toe. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring that back around. And I'm going to bring it right back up into that middle toe between the 2 toes. And then next, I am going to add my snaps. So I'm going to put 1/2 of the snap right in here. I'm going to sew that in, and then the other half of the snap I'm going to put right here on the seam that we just completed, and maybe about 1 row down from the top, just like this. When you have everything sewn together, you should have a couple of feet that look something like this. And then next we're going to move on to our next yarn. And as mentioned before, the next yarn is going to be a little bit bigger or a little bit heavier in weight than the yarn we used for the feet. And in this case, I'm going to use this Caron Latte Cakes. It's the Lovely Layer collection. It's a cream, and it has a nice fuzzy kind of furry feel to it. It's soft, and for an acrylic, I really kind of like it. It gives kind of that natural wool lofty look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first foot and I'm going to face it towards me. And then here on the side, which is going to be the inside of my bat's leg, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up a bar. And then I'm going to go back to regular single crochet stitches. So I'm going to just go ahead and tie that in. I'm going to chain one. And then I'm going to single crochet. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into that next bar, and I'm going to single crochet one. I'm going to continue to do that for each stitch. So by the time I come all the way full circle, I should have 9 single crochets. Now once I've got 9 stitches all the way around, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to single crochet in that same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 8 stitches. And then I come back around again, and as before, I'm going to join with a slip stitch. And I'm going to single chain. And then I'm going to just go ahead and repeat row 2 2 more times. So I will end up with 4 rows of this single crochet. So now with the first leg, we're going to go ahead and fasten off our yarn. And I'm just going to go ahead and tuck that in here. So next we're going to do the same thing with this foot. I'm going to start over here on the side. I'm going to tie in, make a chain, and then in that same stitch I'm going to make a single crochet. And then in the next bar I'm going to place a single crochet. I'm going to do this 7 more times, just like before. I'm going to come all the way around. It's going to be my 9th stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join. And then I'm going to make a chain. And then I'm going to single crochet in that same stitch. And this is the first single crochet of my second round. And I'm going to single crochet 8 more times. And then I'm going to repeat row 2, or round 2 rather, 2 additional times. Except this time I will not fasten off. You don't want to do that just yet. We're going to continue on and connect our legs together at that point. So again, do not fasten off when you've completed all 4 rounds of your leg. So now that you have your 4 rows completed, I'm going to go ahead and take my other foot, and with the seams facing each other, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip stitch the 2 sides together. And I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to single crochet in that same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And for this, for the rest of the body, we're going to be working in a spiral. So you won't have to worry about joining. And we're not going to get too worked up about stitch markers down the back seam because we're working on a spiral. And really we want to maintain each row from about the center of the back. So typically if we work in a spiral, you know, the fabric starts to kind of twist a little bit. And because this piece is what it is, it's not really a big deal if we just kind of eyeball our seam down the back. And I'll show you what I mean. So when we make our one round, we'll end up right here at the center of our back again. And then we'll continue to follow the patterns all the way around. And then even if we're short a couple of stitches for the total round number, as long as we finish up and eyeball it right down about the center of the back, it's going to be fine. I promise. Now, for those of you who are really very, very concerned about having your stitch marker, absolutely go ahead and put your stitch marker in after you've completed each round. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to single crochet in each of the next stitches all the way around for the first round of my body. Okay, so we've completed our first round and we're right back to the center. And then for this second round, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work in the pattern of a single crochet in the first stitch and then an increase in the second stitch. So for those of you who don't know, an increase is basically 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So the next stitch is going to be a single crochet and the stitch after that is going to be an increase. I'm going to follow this pattern all the way around until we back here at the center again. So single crochet and then next stitch is an increase. A single crochet and then an increase. And we're back to where we started and getting ready for rounds 3 through 12. We're going to just simply single crochet. So again, for rounds 3 through 12, we're going to just do a single crochet. Now, once I've completed row 12, I'm going to go on to row 13. And for row 13, I'm going to decrease and then I'm going to make a single crochet. Again, I'm going to decrease and then I'm going to make a single crochet. So for those of you who don't know how to decrease, there are several different ways to decrease. Now for this project, the way I'm decreasing is I'm going to insert my hook into the front loop of the next stitch. I'm going to grab some yarn and pull it through. And then I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to insert it into the front loop of the next stitch. I'm going to grab some yarn and then I'm going to pull it through. So that gives me 3 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to take that yarn and I'm going to pull it through again. So basically what I've done is I've taken 2 stitches and I've combined them into one. So that's a decrease. And then I'm going to single crochet once. So I'm going to continue that until I've completed round 13. Now once I've completed round 13, I'm going to move on to rounds 14 through 22. Now rounds 14 through 22, or rather the next 9 rounds, are going to be simple single crochets. So each round is going to be made up of single crochets. Now next, for round 23, I'm going to make a decrease and then I'm going to single crochet 2. Decrease and single crochet 2. I'm going to continue that pattern all the way around. So decrease and then single crochet 2.
decrease, and then single crochet 2. Next, for round 24, I'm going to single crochet all the way around. And then if you haven't already started stuffing your piece, after round 24 is a good time for you to stuff your body so far. Now, once I've finished stuffing it, I'm going to move on to row 25. And for row 25, I'm going to decrease and then single crochet, decrease and then single crochet. So again, I decrease and then single crochet, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Now, once I've completed round 25, I'm going to move on to round 26 and 27. And for those 2 rounds, I'm going to single crochet. Basically, this is the neck of the bat. Next, for round 28, I want to place 2 single crochets in each stitch. So now we're going to start building up the head. So for the next stitch, I'm going to place 2 single crochets into that next stitch. And 2 single crochets in each stitch after that. Until we've completed round 28. Next, for round 29, I'm going to increase and then single crochet, increase and then single crochet. I'm going to follow that pattern all the way around. So basically I'm going to increase, and that's going to be 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then the next stitch is going to be a single crochet. And then the next stitch after that is going to be 2 single crochets in the same stitch, or in other words, an increase. And then in the stitch after that, it's going to be a single crochet. I'm going to continue that until I've completed round 29. Next, for rounds 30 through 34, in other words, the next 5 rounds, I'm going to simply single crochet. For round 35, you're going to want to follow the pattern of a decrease and then a single crochet twice. Again, a decrease and then a single crochet twice. Next, for rounds 36 through 37, you're just going to simply want to single crochet each stitch in those 2 rounds. Now, once we've completed round 37, you should have something that looks like this. So next we're going to move on to round 38, and for round 38 we're going to decrease every stitch. So basically this is going to be decrease, their first decrease, and then the next decrease, and then of course the decrease after that, and continue that until you've completed round 38. Next, for round 39, I'm going to want to do a single crochet in each stitch. And now once I've completed round 39, it's time to stuff my head and neck. So now once I've stuffed my head, I'm going to begin to close it. And I'm going to begin to close it with round 40. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease each stitch. Now next, once I've completed round 40, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my tail, and then I'm going to weave my tail through, and I'm going to close the top of that head. So once you've completed that, you should have a body and a head that looks something like this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I make the muzzle. And then once you make the muzzle, from there, I'm going to give you a kind of idea on how I go about shaping the face and placing the nose and the eyes on. Now to make the muzzle, I'm going to begin with an adjustable ring. And then I'm going to single crochet 6 for my first round in that ring. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now for this, I'm going to also continue to work in a spiral. And then for each of those next stitches in round 2, I'm going to increase. So I'm going to single crochet 2 single crochets in each of the next stitches for round 2. And that'll give me a total count of 12 stitches for round 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. Next, I'm going to make one more round. And so in my third round, I'm just going to single crochet in each of the stitches. So I'm going to end up with 12 stitches for round 3. And then I'm going to fasten off, but I'm going to leave myself a fairly long tail, because the tail I'm going to use to not only sew the muzzle to the face, but I'm also going to use that tail to help shape the face and the eye sockets. Okay, so round 3, it's going to be single crochet for each stitch. So 1, 11, and 12. And slip stitch in that next stitch. As I said, I'm going to cut myself a fairly long tail. Now, depending on the yarn you're using, you may find that your yarn breaks while you're trying to work with it. If that's the case, just cut yourself another piece of yarn and continue shaping with that. So now, because this bat is going to be an albino, I have got 2 pink eyes. They're kind of a pinky stone. I'm not entirely sure what stone these beads are made from, but it's a pink kind of coral looking stone. Maybe it's just simply a dyed quartz. I'm not entirely sure. But these are the colors of the beads I'm going to use for the eyes. And I think these are about a size 10 millimeter. But you'll decide which beads or safety eyes you happen to have on hand, and you'll use whatever works for you. And then also I have a pink safety nose, and that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place that right here in the center, in the hole of the muzzle. And of course I'm just going to attach the backing. And then it's that simple. And then next we're going to go ahead and sew the muzzle on and also put a little stuffing into it. So now you can see that I've got the muzzle sewn on. Nope, my eyes are running away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start shaping the head, and I want to pinch my eyes like about so, right? Like right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn. I'm going to bring my yarn up to about where I'm going to have my eyes at. So I'm going to bring it right there into right about here. And then I'm going to bring my needle straight across so that it's in about the same spot on the other side of the head. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just kind of pinch that together, and I'm going to kind of sew that in there like so. And then once I have that, I'm going to kind of pinch and shape again, because now what I want to do is I want to give myself just a little bit of cheek. And so for this particular one, I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to bring it back through the eye, and then I'm going to bring it right down here to the bottom of the chin. And I'm going to take it, and again, I'm going to bring it back up, just in a spot next to, near where I just pulled it out. I'm going to bring that needle right back up here and bring it right back to that next eye. So that helps to bring things down a little bit. And then I'll continue to play with it a little bit, and I'll shape things a little more, and I'll run this yarn through a couple of more places in order to get exactly the shape of head that I want. And this is something you may want to play with a little bit yourself. And depending on the yarn you're using, you might find that you need to come up in a different place, but just take your time and you will get what you're looking for. So now I think I've got the shape that I'm looking for, because bats have kind of a longer snout, you know, sort of fox-like for most of them. Some have smaller snouts, so you decide what size snout your bat has. And some of them have bigger cheeks and some of them have smaller cheeks. Again, that'll be up to you. I like to have my bat head tucked a little bit, because especially when they're hanging upside down, their heads are always kind of tucked. But again, you'll be able to play with that and decide how you would like to have your bat's head and in which direction you want that to be facing. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and thread my yarn through a smaller needle. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it with this needle. I might have to use a different thread, but we'll give it a try and see what happens. Because what I need is I need my needle to be small enough to go through the hole in my bead. So let's see if I can get this to work. Oh, perfect. Okay, so that'll be my first eye and my first socket, and I'll bring this yarn right on through to the other side. These little bead pliers are great when you're working with needles and you're in a tight spot. Makes it that much easier to grab your needle and pull. There we go. I want to situate my eye in there. You can see that makes a nice little pink eye. And then again, I'm going to take the other, and pull that yarn through once again. And then now I'm going to weave what's left of my yarn in through my head so that I can basically tie off this yarn. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the pink yarn that I used for the feet, and I'm just going to simply embroider a little section around the eye. So now once you've gotten the face the way you like it and the way you want it, we're going to move on to the ears and the tail. Now the tail is going to be pretty much similar to the muzzle in that we're going to make an adjustable ring. And then going to single crochet 6 single crochets into that ring. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And tighten that ring. I'm going to work in a spiral, and then in the next 2 rounds, I'm also going to just single crochet in each one of those stitches. So it's going to be 6 stitches for round 2 and then 6 stitches for round 3. Now once I've got my first 3 rounds completed, my 4th round, I'm going to make 3 decreases. So that'll be 1, 2, and then 3. So basically I should have 3 stitches left in my round. And then for the next 3 rounds, so that'll be round 5, 6, and 7, I'm going to just single crochet, and then I'm going to fasten off. But I'm going to leave a tail, a nice long tail that I can weave right back into the length of this tail, and then I'll have something to sew this onto the body. So I'll see you right back here after I finish my next 3 rounds of single crochets. So now you can see that I finished my tail off here, and I went ahead and threaded my needle, and I ran my tail right back through the length of my tail right here to the base, and at the base I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew this onto my bat, and we're going to sew it right about here, right here at the very bottom of the bat's back. Now the yarn that was used for the feet is going to be used for the inner ears. And for that, I'm going to start with a chain of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, these inner ears are going to be basically that Tunisian stitch, that same Tunisian stitch that we used on the feet. And this time I'm going to make 2 rows of the first basic stitch. So I've already got my 1 loop on the hook, and I got 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Yarn over and pull through the first loop, yarn over the next 2 loops, 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 and yarn over the next 2 loops. And we're going to do this one more time. So I got my first loop on my hook, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And again, yarn over through the first loop, yarn over, and then through the next 2 loops, yarn over the next 2 loops, yarn over the next 2 loops, yarn over next 2 loops, and yarn over the last 2 loops. Okay, so we have 2 rows. Next, I want to start decreasing. And so I have my first loop on the hook, and I'm going to get my second loop on the hook, third loop on the hook, fourth loop on the hook, fifth loop, and then the 6th loop. Now, as I work my way back for row 3, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull that loop through the next 2 loops. And so I've just decreased. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull it through the next 2 loops, yarn over and pull it through the next 2 loops. Now I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through the next 3 loops, giving me my second decrease. Now again, I'm going to begin row 4, and I already have my 1 loop on the hook. And then I'm going to come over here to my next stitch, and I'm going to get my second loop on the hook, and then I'm going to get my 3rd loop on the hook. Now I want to basically pull all 3 of these loops together. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to take this yarn and I'm going to pull it through all 3 loops. And now I'm going to fasten off. And that'll be the completion of the first inner side of my ear. And I'm going to do this one more time. Now, for the outer ear, I'm going to leave myself some pretty decent length tail for sewing. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, when you change yarns, don't forget to also use the appropriate size hook for the yarn or thread that you're using. Next, I'm going to insert my hook into that second chain from the hook. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet 4 single crochets. 1 single crochet for each one of those chains. And then I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert my hook into the front loop of the next stitch. And then I'm going to decrease. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull that yarn through those 2 loops. Then again, I'm going to decrease again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the yarn through the next loop. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn through the loop, or sorry, the stitch after that. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to close those 2 stitches together to make a single stitch. I'm going to turn my work. Then I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to insert it into the front loop of the next stitch. I'm going to pull that yarn through and then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to create a single crochet. And then I'm going to fasten this off and I'm going to make 1 more of these because that'll be the outside of my ear. So I'm going to leave myself a pretty good tail on this because on either end I'm going to use this yarn for sewing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 backing and I'm going to take 1 front piece and I'm going to sandwich them together. I'm just going to go ahead and tuck that pink tail in. And then I'm going to take this and I'm basically going to do a whip stitch all the way around. And now I have my first ear. And I'll set this aside and I'll get the second ear put together. So now that I have my 2 ears, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out where I want to place them on the head, and then I'm going to sew them and move on to the arms and fingers. I'm going to begin by creating an adjustable ring. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. For the arms, I'm also going to work in a spiral. So I'm going to continue to single crochet 9 for each round, and I'm going to do 14 rounds total. So this counts as my first round, and next I'm going to begin with my second round. Now that I've completed my first 14 rounds, I'm going to move on to round 15. And in round 15, I'm going to do this pattern twice. I'm going to decrease, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 times. And then there will be 1 more single crochet, and that'll leave me with a total of 7 count. So basically, I have my decrease, and then my single crochet once, and my single crochet twice. And then 1 more time, I'm going to do my decrease, and my next single crochet once, and then single crochet twice. And then I'm going to have 1 more single crochet to do, and that'll leave me with a count of 7 when I complete round 15. Now for rounds 16 through 22, I'm going to simply single crochet 7 in each round. So I'll see you back here for round 23 when we move on to the next step. Now for round 23, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to begin by making a decrease. And then I'm going to single crochet once. I'm going to do that pattern one more time. I'm going to go ahead and make a decrease. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch. Once, and I'm going to do one more single crochet, and that'll give me 5 stitches in this round. So now for rounds 24 through 28, I'm going to simply single crochet 5 in each round, and then after that we'll begin with the hands and fingers. Now I've completed 28 rows, and this is what I have. I'm going to begin to make the fingers, which in turn will also create the hands. So I'm going to begin by chaining 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Next, I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. After that, I'm literally going to single crochet 29 over the chain. So when I say I'm going to single crochet 29 over the chain, I mean just that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet right over that chain. Next, I'm going to do one more single crochet, and that's going to be right here in the hand area. So I'm going to insert my hook into these 2 single crochets right here that sit right across from each other. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet that end closed right there. And then I'm going to repeat this again for the second finger. So I'm going to chain 15. And then I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. I'm going to single crochet 29 over the chain, and then I'm going to single crochet in the next 2 single crochets right above it. And then we'll move on to the third finger, which is a little different. So now that I've completed the second finger, I've got one more finger to do. And for this finger, I'm going to chain 21. 2, 3, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And as before, I'm going to go ahead and single crochet in that second chain from my hook. And then I'm going to single crochet 38 over the chain. Now that I've completed my single crochets over my chain, I'm going to do one more single crochet right here into these last 2 single crochets at the end of the hand. Next, I'm going to slip stitch into the single crochet that's the next round down. And I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next, I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then I'm going to single crochet 10 over the chain. So this is going to be my thumb. 2, 3. Next, I'm going to slip stitch again into the next round down on the hand there. And this is where I'm going to finish off. And this will be my arm and my hand and my fingers of my bat. I'm going to make 2 of these, and then I'm going to sew them onto the appropriate placement
of the bat, which is, you know, the shoulder area, the arm area. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to begin the wings / cloak. It is a vampire bat after all. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same yarn that I used for the inner ear and the feet to make the wings with. And for this, I'm going to begin by chaining 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then I'm going to create a ring. So I'm going to slip stitch right back there into that first chain. Next, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to make 2 double crochets right into that chain. So 1 and then 2. And then I'm going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now this next group of stitches I'm going to do those 7 times. So I'm going to begin that grouping by doing 3 double crochets into the ring. So that'll be 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to double crochet 3 and then chain 9. So I'm going to repeat this last cluster of stitches 6 more times. So now that we have a total of 8 of these 9 chains and 8 of these 3 clusters of double crochets, the first one being 2 double crochets and then a chain 3 that stands in for a double crochet. I'm going to take my last 9 chain and then I'm going to slip stitch it right here into this third single crochet. Next, I'm going to slip stitch into this second double crochet, or middle double crochet rather. And then I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'm going to single crochet in the center of this 9 chain loop. And then I'm going to chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to single crochet into this middle double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 6. And then again, I'm going to single crochet in the middle of this 9 chain loop. I'm going to continue that until I get all the way back around. Now, as I complete round 2, I'm going to come here to the very beginning, this first slip stitch from round 2, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip stitch right into there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch 4 slip stitches, 1 for each of the next 4 chains in this chain 6 loop. And what that does is that brings me right here to the second chain before we hit the single crochet from that round 2. Next, I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to single crochet in the chain 2 after that
last single crochet from round 2. So next I'm going to chain 5 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to come over here to the next petal, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet in the chain that is the second chain before you hit that single crochet. That's 2 chains away from that single crochet from round 2. Then I'm going to, this time I'm going to chain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Then I'm going to go the second one over from this single crochet, the second chain, and I'm going to make a single crochet. So you can see right here is a chain 5, and then a chain 5 again, and then this is a chain 11. Next I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to chain or single crochet right here in the second chain before this single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to chain, or rather single crochet in the second chain from that single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 5 one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to reach across to this next petal. And then the same thing as before, single crochet right there in that second chain to the single crochet. And then this time I'm going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then again, I'm going to go to the second chain from that single crochet there, and I'm going to go ahead and make another single crochet right in there. And then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, these chain 11 loops are corner 1 and corner 2, and these chain 5 loops make up the edging of one side of this lace tile that we're working on right now. So I'm going to chain 5 3 times again. So this is 1, and then 2, and then 3. And then I'm going to do my 11 chain loop. And then we're going to do the 5, 1, 2, 3, and then 11 chain loop. And then we'll do one more because we already have the first 2 5 chain counts on this side of the edge. So I'll show you one more time. So I chained my 5. I'm going to reach across to the next petal, and I'm going to single crochet right here into the second chain to this single crochet right there. And chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then again, the second chain after that single crochet in the middle. And I'm going to single crochet. So I have 2 chain 5s. I'm going to do one more chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which reaches across to the next petal. Same location as before. Single crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then again, I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from that last single crochet there in the middle. And I'm going to do the 5 chains 3 more times, one more corner, which is going to be the 11 chain, and then one more 5 chain, and then I'll meet you right back here. And we'll move on to the next round. So now that we've completed round 3, I'm going to go ahead and take my last chain 5, and I'm going to slip stitch it right here into this 4th slip stitch from the previous round. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and into this chain 5 loop, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make another slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this chain 4 is going to stand in for my first treble crochet, and then after that I want to do 6 more treble crochets. So got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that makes a total of 7 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to skip over to this chain 11 loop. And in the chain 11 loop, I'm going to place 2 double crochets, plus a chain 2, plus 2 double crochets, plus a chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 2 double crochets, plus a chain 2, plus 2 more double crochets. So that's what our corner should look like, and that's what the middle part of our edge should look like. So next, I'm going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to skip this next 5 chain loop. And then in the 5 chain loop after that, I am going to make 7 treble crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then again, I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to repeat the corner again. So it's going to be 2 double crochets plus 2 chain plus 2 double crochet plus a 5 chain plus 2 double crochet plus 2 chains, and then plus another 2 more double crochets. So we'll continue this basic pattern all the way around. And then at the end, we'll just slip stitch right here into this 4th chain where we began round 4. So once round 4 has been completed, this is what my piece looks like. Yours should look something similar as well. So you can really start seeing this tile take shape. I have a couple more rounds for this to go, and then I will be putting on the additional edging, which makes up the wings that give it kind of a, it'll give it kind of a heart shape, for lack of a better description. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. So for round 5, the next thing I want to do, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is going to stand in for my first treble plus chain stitch. So what I then going to do is I'm going to treble into my next stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to treble into the next stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1 again. So as you can see, this 5 chain stands in for my first treble plus chain 1, and then the next 2. And so after this, I have 4 more treble plus chain 1s. Next, I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to come over here to my next chain 5 corner. And just as before in that chain 5 corner, I'm going to make 2 double crochets plus a chain 2 plus 2 double crochets. Plus a chain 5, and then again plus 2 double crochets, all in that same loop, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. Just like before in that same corner. Then I'm going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to begin with my first of 7 treble crochets. So that's my first treble. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to make my next treble in that next stitch. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to continue that until I've trebled in each one of my previous trebles, and then I'm going to chain 6 again, and I'm going to repeat the corner just as before. And when round 5 is completed, this is basically what your wings are starting to look like. Now we have one more round, which is going to be the round 6. And then I'll move on to showing you how to attach the lobes, or the 2 edgings basically. So for round 6, right here where I slip stitched, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet right here in this chain 1 space. And then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to single crochet in the next chain 1 space. I'm going to chain 3, and then single crochet in the next chain 1 space, and chain 3, and then single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 3, and then single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 3, and then single crochet in the next chain 1 space. Next, I'm going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to do my corner just like I did it the last 2 times. Double crochet twice. Chain 2. Double crochet twice again. Chain 5, and double crochet twice, chain 2, and then double crochet 2 more times in that corner loop. And we'll do this on the next 3 corners. And then we'll continue with the edging. We're going to go ahead and chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to single crochet in this next chain 1 space and chain 3. And then single crochet in the next chain 1 space and chain 3. So I think you can see the pattern for this. So basically in each of these chain 1 spaces, we're going to single crochet and we're going to chain 3 between them. And then between this section or this edging to the corner, we're going to chain 7. And then we're going to do our corner, and then we're going to chain 7. And then we're going to do our single crochet into the chain 1 space plus a 3 chain all the way down. And then we're going to do our 7 again, and then we're going to hit the next corner just as we did before. And we're going to continue that all the way around. And then once I make it all the way around, I'm going to slip stitch right into that very first chain 1 stitch there in round 6. And at this point, I'm going to fasten off right here. And I'm going to start the second step to the wing. So now this next step of the wing is going to be the lobe or the edging on this side. And then we're going to do a lobe and an edging on this side. So these 2 edgings are going to be the same. You're going to follow the same instructions for edging 1 and edging 2, except they're done separately from each other. So we'll get edging 1 started first. Now for edging 1, we're going to want to start into this top right-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and tie into there. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to single crochet each stitch until we hit this middle part. And then I'm going to single crochet a single stitch into the chain 3, and then a single crochet in the chain 1, a single crochet in the chain 3, and a single crochet in the chain 1, so on and so forth. When we get back here to this chain 7 section of the edge, we're going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet 1 single crochet for each stitch. And then when we get into this 5 chain corner, we're going to single crochet 3. So this edge, by the time you finish, should have a total of 43 single crochets right across it. Now when you get your 43 single crochets across, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work, and I'll tell you what to do at that point. So now that I have my 43 single crochets across the one side of my tile, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Basically, this 5 is going to be the stand-in for my first double crochet plus 2 chain. So next, I'm going to skip the next 2 single crochets, and then I'm going to double crochet in the stitch after that. I'm going to chain 2. And I'm going to skip the next 2 single crochets. I'm going to double crochet in the stitch after that. Chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet. When I've completed the length of my edging, I should have 14 eyelets total. Okay, so for round 2 of the first lobe, we've just completed. So I have 14 eyelets, and so should you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my work. And I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this next chain 2 space, I'm going to do a 3 double crochet bobble. So we're going to start the first bobble, and then the second bobble, and then the third bobble. And then I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull that yarn through all the way those 3 first stitches, which is going to give me 3 double crochet bobble. Then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do another 3 double crochet bobble in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, and then 3. Yarn over, pull it all the way through all 3 of those. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Again, I'm going to do one more 3 double crochet bobble. Next, I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next, I'm going to skip the next 2 double crochets, and then I'm going to double crochet in the double crochet after that. Then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to double crochet again in that same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to skip the next double crochet, and then I am going to treble crochet in the next double crochet after that. Then I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to treble crochet again in that same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 5, I'm going to skip a double crochet, and in the next double crochet I'm going to make a double crochet plus chain 2, and then double crochet again in that same stitch. Next I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to skip the next 2 double crochets, and in the chain 2 space right after that, I am going to do my first of 3 double crochet bobbles. 1, 2, and 3, making me my first bobble. And then I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to make my next bobble. And then I'm going to chain 3 again. And I'm going to make one more bobble for this row. And next I'm going to make a double crochet right into the 3rd chain there at the end. Then I'm going to turn my work. And we're going to move on to row 4. Next for row 4, I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then in the next chain 3 space, I am going to make a bobble.
just as we've done before. All the baubles are exactly the same. There's going to be no variation. So when I say bauble, you know it's just going to be the 3 double crochet bauble. And then I'm going to chain 3. And I'm going to create another bauble in that next chain 3 space. Next, I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in this next chain 2 space, I'm going to double crochet. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to double crochet again right into that same chain 2 space. I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to treble crochet into the next chain 5 space, right here between the 2 previous treble crochets. Next, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to treble crochet again in that same space. And then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to treble crochet one more time into that same space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to double crochet into the next chain 2 space. And then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to double crochet again into that same space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to place a bauble into the next chain 3 space. I'm going to chain 3. And then I'm going to place another bauble into the next chain 3 space. And then I'm going to chain 3. Then I'm going to double crochet right into the next double crochet right there at the end. I'm going to turn my work. And we're going to move on to row 5. Now for row 5, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to place a bauble in this next chain 3 space right here. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then a bauble in the next chain 3 space. Next, I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 2. And then double crochet again in the next, in that same space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to treble crochet in the next chain 2 space. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to treble crochet in that same space. Next, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to treble crochet in the next chain 2 space. And then I'm going to chain 2. And I'm going to treble crochet one more time in that same space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Next, I'm going to double crochet in the next chain 2 space, and chain 2, and then I'm going to double crochet into that same space. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to place a bobble in the next chain 3 space. 1, 2, 3, chain 3, and then another bobble. 1, 2, and then I'm going to double crochet right into that 3rd chain there at the end. Next, I'm going to turn my work. And then for row 6, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to place a bobble in the next chain 3 space. And then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next, I'm going to double crochet into the next chain 2 space, and then I'm going to chain 2 and double crochet again in that same space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I'm going to treble crochet in the next chain 2 space. I'm going to chain 2 and then treble again in that same space, that same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to treble crochet in the next chain 2 space. And then I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to treble crochet in the same chain 2 space. And then I'm going to chain 2. Next, I'm going to treble crochet in the next chain 2 space. And then I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to treble crochet one more time into that same space. And then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I'm going to double crochet into the next chain 2 space. Chain 2, and then double crochet again into that same space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to make a bobble into the next chain 3 space. So we got 1, 2, and 3. And chain 3. And then I'm going to single crochet right into that last double crochet. Now for row 7, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to make a bobble in that chain 3 space. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I'm going to double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 2 and double crochet in the same space. Then I'm going to chain 5 again. Next, I'm going to treble in the next chain 2 space. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to treble again in that same space. Then I'm going to chain 2.
And then I'm going to make a treble in the next chain 2 space, and chain 2, and then I'm going to make a treble into that same stitch. I'm going to chain 2. Then I'm going to treble into the next chain 2 space, and I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to treble again into that same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to treble crochet into the next chain 2 space, and I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to treble crochet into the chain, that same chain 2 stitch space, and I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to treble into the next chain 2 space, chain 2, and then treble one more time into that same chain 2 stitch. Then I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to double crochet into the next chain 2 space. I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to double crochet again into that same stitch. Again, I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to put a bobble into the next chain 3 space. And then I'm going to double crochet into that third chain right there at the end. Now I'm going to turn my work. And for row 8, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 1. And then in that same stitch, I'm going to single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to place a bobble in that next chain 2 space. And then I'm going to chain 5 again. And then I'm going to place a bobble in the next chain 2 space. I'm in chain 5. Place a bobble in the next chain 2 space. Chain 5. Again, place another bobble in the next chain 2 space. And basically I'm going to continue to put a bobble in each chain 2 space, and I'm going to chain 5 between each one until I get to the end. And now that I've chained my last 5 chains, I'm going to come down here to my last double crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet right in there. So your first lobe should look like this so far. And we've got one more row to do to finish off this lobe. And basically we're just going to simply turn our work. And then I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to single crochet in that same stitch. And then I'm going to just place a single crochet for each stitch all the way across. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to fasten off. So now your first lobe is finished. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut a decent sized tail because I am going to use this for part of my sewing. So now this is going to be the base of my wing. So this point right here is going to be what sits right above the bat's tail. So this is also the point where I'm going to start my second lobe. And I'm going to do exactly for the second lobe what I did for the first lobe. So if you need to go back and repeat that part of the video, please do. Except I am not going to finish off exactly in the same space. So when you get to that point, I'll meet you back here and I will show you where I go from there. Because there's one more step for the second lobe. There's one more step after that. It's fairly quick. And, you know, if you've hung with me this long, fantastic. We're almost there. You're in the home stretch now. All right, I'll see you back here in just another moment. So now that we have both lobes finished, as you can see here, and right here at the cleft of the heart shape, for lack of a better description, is going to be where the tail sits, right? So here is where we finished up our second lobe, the second edging. And it's a match to the first side of the edging that we did. Except this time for the second, I do not finish off, because what I'm going to do with this, I am now going to continue to single crochet each stitch all the way around, back around to the edge right here at the where basically where the first lobe begins, where you see the single crochet right there. So I'm going to single crochet from the edge of the second lobe all the way down this edge of the open tile, and then back down the other side of the edge of the open tile right here to where our single crochet begins again on the edging. And that is where I'm going to finish off, and this will be the finish of our wings. And then when I come back after I finish that single crochet and I come back, I'm going to show you how I sew this onto the bat's body. All right, so as you can see, I've now finished with my single crochet, and I have finished with my wings. I'm gonna get my bat body, my arms and my fingers, everything's together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to face my bat down, face down. And as you can see right here at the very corner, this is the edge where that cleft in the heart, in the lobes, is going to sit right here at the tail. And then as you can see, I'll sew, basically I'll go in and I'll tack each one of these down to the back, all the way up. And then this circle part will sit right up here at the back of the neck. And so then this part of the wings will act double duty. It'll be kind of like a hood, like for a Dracula cape, or a hood, or you can just fold it down too. It has a lot of different aspects or visuals you can give to it. So then what I'm going to do is, so you can see where I had left that tail, as I had explained, and I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to start sewing it right about here at the side of the foot. So right about where it's going to bend. So if you go ahead and take your snap and close it, you're going to see it sits right at the bend. And basically I'm going to go ahead and sew that in, and I'm going to sew it in such a way that the back part of the wing ends right here at the cleft at the tail. And then I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to sew that all the way down to the natural ending of the edge on the other side of the wing there on that there on that lobe, that edging. So I'll take it down to about so far. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew this part on. And then I'm going to sew the back of my wings onto the body. And I'll show you what that looks like. And then we'll flip it around and I'll show you how to sew the rest of it together. So now you can see that I've stitched the back on, the back of the legs, like so. Just go ahead and snap those. And then I'm going to situate the wing itself. And I'm going to follow this edging all the way down, right here to this first and longest finger. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to stitch it right along the edge of my wing. And then these other two fingers, I'm going to figure out about where I would like them to sit on my wing, and I will stitch them in as well. And then I'll do the same on the other side. And when I finish doing that, I'll show you what that looks like. In fact, it's probably easier for me to show you what it looks like with the little bat. So you can see this is the same exact pattern. And here's the arm. And this is how I placed my fingers. And you can see there the wings are stitched down the side of the body. And then also the back. You can see how the cleft of that heart sits right at the tail. And this is the wings spread out. And then of course with the way the feet snap, it can hang upside down. You can cross the arms over each other if you want and snap or tie them into place. It's all absolutely up to you. Also, if you'd like to see more of these tutorials on my amigurumis, please check out my playlist. But for now, I must say goodbye. So until I see all you wonderful and creative fiber artists again, stay crafty, stay amazing, and above all, keep weaving your weird. Bye-bye now.